often do you show yourself the love you truly deserve? And I'm not talking about bubble baths after a hard week or treating yourself once in a while. I'm talking about consistently, radically, unapologetically self-love. The kind where you put yourself first, not last. The kind where you speak to yourself with compassion, not criticism. The kind where your choices reflect your worth, not your wounds. Here's the fierce truth. Self-love isn't just a buzzword. It's not some fluffy Instagram trend. It's the foundation of a fulfilling life. Because if you don't love yourself deeply and fiercely, nothing else will feel like enough. You could find success and still feel empty. You could have relationships and still feel unseen. You could give endlessly to others and still feel depleted. Why? Because you're pouring from a cracked cup. You're giving love you don't even extend to yourself. But when you start truly loving yourself, everything changes. Your relationships transform, your confidence rises, your boundaries strengthen, your health improves. Your life begins to reflect back to you the love you've been craving all along. That's what today's about. If you're new here, hi, I'm Cherry, your spiritual life coach, energy alchemist, and intuitive wake-up call. I help women who've spent their lives living for everyone else, women who are tired of being people pleasers, exhausted from overgiving, frustrated from being taken advantage of. And I teach them to reclaim their power, to set boundaries, and to live unapologetically from their hearts. And let me tell you something. I know in my bones, everything changes when you learn to love yourself. Not the, oh, I know I should love myself kind of love. I mean the embodied, unapologetic, revolutionary kind of self-love. And I know this because I've been there. I know the ache of living without it. I know what it feels like to keep saying yes when every part of me wanted to scream no. I know what it feels like to measure my worth by how much I gave, how much I achieved, or how little space I took up. But I also know the power of turning that around. I know the freedom of standing in the mirror, looking into my own eyes and saying, I choose me. Every damn time. That's why I'm doing this video, because you can't think of your way into self-love. You have to practice it. You have to embody it. You have to rebuild trust with yourself step by step until it becomes who you are. And that's exactly what we're going to walk through today. Let's start with a distinction most people get wrong. Self-love versus self-care. Self-care is an action. Self-love is a state of being. You can light all the candles, take all the baths, do all the yoga in the world. But if your inner dialogue is toxic, if you don't believe you deserve care, it won't stick. Think about it. How many times have you done something for self-care, but still felt guilty, restless, or undeserving the whole time? That's not self-love. That's self-care layered on top of self-neglect. True self-love is deeper. It's the foundation. It's the voice inside you that says, I deserve rest. I deserve kindness. I deserve to be here. Self-care is the outer action. Self-care is the inner permission that makes the action nourishing instead of hollow. Without self-love, self-care becomes a performance. With self-love, even the smallest act, drinking water, taking a breath, saying no, becomes sacred. So why does self-love feel so hard? Now let's get real. If self-love is so essential, why does it feel so hard? It's because you've been conditioned against it. From childhood, most of us were taught that love was something you earned. You earned it by being quiet. You earned it by getting good grades. You earned it by keeping the peace. Earned it by giving more than we received. So when we try to love ourselves unconditionally, it feels wrong. It feels selfish. It feels unsafe. And when you set a boundary or rest without permission, your nervous system completely freaks out because it's wired for survival, not self-love. Here's the truth. The discomfort you feel when you start practicing self-love isn't proof that it's wrong. It's proof you're breaking generational programming. And let's be honest, self-love feels harder than people-pleasing because people-pleasing gets you approval, at least in the short term. Self-love, it gets you pushback. People might not like it when you stop abandoning yourself for them. But here's the fierce reminder. Self-love is not about making others comfortable. It's about making yourself whole. That's why I created Self-Love Workbook. to walk you through this exact reprogramming. Inside, you'll find exercises and reflections that help you release the guilt, rewire your inner dialogue, and practice choosing yourself without apology. Because self-love isn't a concept, it's a practice. And you don't have to figure it out alone. So what blocks self-love? It's the people-pleasing trap. Let's talk about bigger blocks to self-love that I see in my clients, my community, and honestly, that I've lived myself. People-pleasing. Now, here's the truth most people won't say. People-pleasing isn't kindness. It isn't generosity. It isn't even love. It's based in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough unless you're useful to somebody else. I know that one sting a little, but I love you too much to sugarcoat it. Because every time you say yes to someone else when you mean no, you're not being loving. You're betraying yourself. That's not love. That's self-abandonment. And let me ask you something. How many times have people pleasing others actually given you the love you wanted? Rarely, right? Because people pleasing doesn't lead to genuine connection. It leads to resentment. When you keep giving from an empty cup, people don't suddenly decide to fill yours. They get used to taking. And the more they take, the more invisible you feel. This is why you feel exhausted. This is why you feel unseen. This is why you keep ending up in situations where people use you, because the energy you're broadcasting is my needs don't matter. And here's the shift. Real love doesn't cost you wholeness. When you start choosing yourself, when you start setting boundaries, the right people will celebrate it and the wrong people will just fall away. That's not loss. That's alignment. Let's move on to another huge block, your inner dialogue. If I asked you to repeat out loud the things you say to yourself in your head, you'd probably be horrified. You'd never speak that way to a friend. You'd never say it to your child. You'd never say it to someone you love, but you say it to yourself daily. I'm stupid. I'll never get it right. I don't deserve better. I'm too much. I'm not enough. Sound familiar? And here's the fierce truth. Your self-talk is the foundation of your self-worth. Every thought you repeat becomes a belief. Every belief becomes an identity. And every identity becomes the life you live. If you constantly call yourself broken, worthy, or unlovable, you will live down to those labels. But the moment you start reparenting your inner dialogue, speaking to yourself with the same compassion you give others, everything begins to shift. Self-love begins with the voice inside your head. Now let's talk about the words that make people pleasers squirm. Boundaries. Every boundary you set is a declaration. I matter. My needs matter. My energy matters. But I know what you're thinking. Boundaries feel selfish. What if people get upset? What if they leave? Well, here's the truth. Boundaries don't push love away. They filter it. A boundary is not a wall. It's a gate. It keeps the harmful energy out and allows the right energy in. When you say no, you're not rejecting someone. You're directing them, teaching them how to be in a relationship with you in a way that honors you. Without boundaries, you will always overgive. And overgiving leads to burnout, resentment, and disconnection. With boundaries, your relationships deepen because they are built on respect instead of depletion. And let me tell you, the first few boundaries you set will feel terrifying. Your nervous system will scream at you. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will push back, but you have to hold firm because every boundary you hold is self-love in action. And this is exactly why my self-love workbook is so powerful. It doesn't just talk about boundaries in theory. It gives you scripts, prompts, and reflections to help you actually set and hold them. So you stop negotiating your worth and start protecting it. Because self-love isn't just about how you feel. It's about what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you no longer entertain. So let's move on to the myth of the overnight transformation. Let's start with this. Self-love isn't a one-night miracle. You don't wake up one day, look in the mirror, and suddenly feel 100% worthy, confident, and healed. Self-love is built through small daily choices. It's not glamorous. It's not always Insta-worthy. It's about showing up for yourself consistently, especially on the days when it feels hardest. Think of it like building muscles. You wouldn't go to the gym once and expect to be fit forever. You show up rep by rep, workout by workout. Self-love is the same. It's not a one-time declaration. It's a practice. That's why so many people fail at it. They want a big moment, the grand transformation, but they resist the discipline of daily compassion. But here's the truth. Those micro choices, drinking water, journaling instead of scrolling, saying no without guilt, choosing rest, are how self-love becomes your default state. Let's get a bit practical. Your morning is sacred. It sets the tone for your entire day. Most people wake up and immediately hand over their energy to their phone, to their email, to other people's needs. That's self-abandonment before you've even brushed your teeth. Self-love practice in the morning could be as simple as placing your hand on your heart and saying, I choose me today. Or you could write 3 things you're proud of from yesterday. Drinking a glass of water before reaching for the coffee. These are little small acts, but they tell your subconscious, I matter. My needs come first. Imagine how different your life would feel if every single morning you started from a place of self-worth instead of self-neglect. Now let's flip to the evening. Most people end their day replaying everything they did wrong. Be honest. Do you lie in bed going through the highlight reels of your mistakes? That is not self-love. That is self-punishment. Instead, try closing your day with compassion. Write down one thing you did well. Forgive yourself for anything that didn't go as planned. Thank yourself for surviving another day in a world that constantly demands too much. This isn't about perfection. It's about creating a safe inner home where you can rest instead of attacking yourself in your own head. Now, here's something people don't realize. Every relationship you have is a mirror of the one you have with yourself. If you neglect yourself, you're attracting people who will neglect you. If you abandon yourself, you'll attract people who abandon you. If you constantly criticize yourself, you'll tolerate criticism from others. But when you start loving yourself truly and deeply, you naturally raise your standards. You stop chasing people who breadcrumb you. You stop tolerating toxic dynamics. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown, because your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other connection in your life. And here's the fierce truth. If you want others to treat you with respect, compassion, and love, you must start by treating yourself that way first. And this is exactly why I created the self-love workbook. Also the boundary workbook. All links will be in the description below. Because let's be real. It's one thing to hear me talk about self-love, and it's another to actually practice it every single day. These workbooks give you the structure, the prompts, and the accountability to make self-love not just an idea, but a lifestyle. When you commit to this practice, everything changes. Not just how you feel about yourself, but how the world responds to you. So let's start with career. Most people think success comes from hard work, hustle, and sacrifice. And yes, effort matters. But without self-love, you'll always overwork, undercharge, and undervalue yourself. And here's the truth. Your career is only as strong as your sense of worth. When you don't love yourself, you accept jobs that drain you. You tolerate the toxic bosses. You play small instead of asking for promotions. You undercharge for your gifts because deep down, you don't believe you're worth more. But when you cultivate self-love, everything changes. You stop chasing validation through overworking. You start asking for what you're worth. You choose alignment over hustle. And suddenly opportunities flow because you're operating from a place of confidence, not desperation. Self-love is the key to shifting from survival jobs to soul work. Now let's talk about money, the place where self-love, or lack of it, screams the loudest. Money mirrors your relationship with yourself. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll constantly struggle. You'll undercharge, overspend, to fill those emotional voids, or keep yourself in cycles of scarcity. But when you practice self-love, you stop using money as a bandage and start using it as a tool. You save because you love your future self. You charge your worth because you respect your energy. You stop overgiving discounts or work for free because you know your gifts are valuable. Money becomes an extension of self-love, not a replacement for it. Let's move on to health. Self-love is the foundation of true wellness, because without it, your choices are rooted in punishment, not nourishment. Think about it. How many people exercise from a place of self-hate? I need to fix my body. How many people diet from a place of shame? I'm not good enough. That energy doesn't heal you. It depletes you. Because when you love yourself, you move your body because it feels good. You eat to fuel your energy, not to punish your appetites. You rest because your body deserves it, not because you've hit burnout. Self-love turns health from a battle into a devotion. And of course, spirituality. You cannot deepen your connection to the divine while abandoning yourself. If you pray but still berate yourself, if you meditate but still neglect your needs, if you seek spiritual awakening but avoid self-acceptance, then your spirituality is incomplete. Self-love is a spiritual practice. It says, I honor the divine within me, not just out of me. It's remembering that you are not separate from source. You're an expression of it. And when you embody self-love, your spiritual gifts expand, your intuition sharpens, and your sense of connection to the universe becomes unshakable. Finally, let's talk about legacy. Your self-love doesn't just heal you, it heals your lineage. When you choose to love yourself, you break cycles. You stop passing down the wounds of unworthiness to your children, your family, your community. You model what it looks like to live unapologetically, to take up space, to thrive. That is your legacy. Because here's the truth. The most radical gift you can give the world is a woman who loves herself. Because when she does, she becomes unstoppable. So here's my invitation. Don't just listen to these words. Live them. Make self-love your non-negotiable. Choose yourself every single day. And when it feels hard, remember that's proof you're breaking old patterns, not that you're failing. And if you're ready to take this deeper, to practice instead of just to know, to embody instead of just to hope, that's why I created the self-love workbook and the boundary workbook, both free for you in the description box. It's your roadmap that guides you, your daily practice for building the most important relationships you'll ever have, the one with yourself. Download it today and start walking the path of radical, unapologetic self-love, because you deserve it. Not when you're perfect, not when you've achieved more, not when you've earned it, because you deserve it now. And if you know of anybody else who really deeply needs to hear these words, I would love you to share this video with them. Like the video because it helps the algorithm. Subscribe so you never miss another video. And tell me in the comments section, did any of this sound true for you? Did you get any aha moments? And what are your first steps to help you create that first self-love act? Until next time, with fierce love. Bye for now.